Papa Tony came in the bar. He started kissing the cheeks of all the girls at the bar. He kissed that one behind you. That maniac man of hers stopped singing. He leaped off the stage. He started to beat poor Papa Tony with his pistol. It's the first night the maniac has worked for my husband. If my husband Vince had been here, that jerk's brains would splatter the sidewalk. The roller looked back at Chris. He started making notes in a small book. He knew he'd quiz her after he got the full picture. I touched Chris lightly on the shoulder. She turned and looked up at me. She got weak in the knees. She slumped against me. I took her arm and steered her down the sidewalk. I heard the distant whine of an ambulance siren. I said, "Chris, you had better split. That's a white man Leroy beat up. The white folks are going to cross you into it. After all, you're the reason he nipped." We got into the LaSalle. I moved it down the street toward the prowl car. I put on the brakes. A couple came from the front of the prowl car. They crossed the street in front of me. I stopped beside the prowl car. Chris could have reached out and touched it. I turned my head and looked into the rear seat of the prowl car. Leroy was staring at Chris. His eyes shifted to me. He leaped toward the front seat. The roller backhanded him. I saw Leroy's head dip out of sight as I pulled away. I made book from that frantic leap of his that he remembered me. The LaSalle moved quickly away from the west side. Chris was crying. I stayed silent until I hit the fringe of the south side. Then I said, "All right, Chris, I got you away from the heat. Tell me where you live and I'll take you home. Don't cry. You can bail him out when they book him." She sobbed. "All right. You want to take me home? Turn around and take me to Leroy's Jalopy. It's parked behind the bar where he blew his silly top. We got into town broke this afternoon. He didn't get the settlement. Maybe he'll never get it. I'm so disgusted. He was to get paid nightly for the gig. He does a blues singing bit now." I said, "Bitch, you look like a bum. You conned me you'd keep in touch. You were going to be my whore, remember? I should have left you back there to go to jail with your sucker man." I realized I had a solid chance to cop her now. All I had to do was stay strong and bluff her. Leroy was a cinch to get a bit. He couldn't make bail. Chris had no out but me. She sure looked like my third whore. I coasted into the curb. I left the engine running. We were parked in front of a Fleabag hotel. I had maybe a 2,500 slat roll in my pocket I flashed for her. I peeled off a saw buck. I held it toward her. She ignored it. She said, "Blood, it wasn't that I didn't think of you. I wanted to call you. I wanted to keep my word. Leroy never let me out of his sight. He would even follow me to the toilet. You don't know how much I hate him. I hope he gets life. Don't cut me loose, Blood. I'll keep my promises. I'm free now. I'm yours, baby. Tell me to jump in the river. I'll do it." I said, "No, Chris. I'm afraid of you. I think Leroy has made a tramp jive bitch out of you. I'm pimping too good to bring a headache into the stable. I'll always be your friend, Chris. My ticket is bleeding for you, baby. I gotta think of number one. My whores are humping 16 hours a day in the street. They love it. I don't figure you got the guts and heart for the street track. Chris, for the rest of my life I'll be sad when I think of you. I'll have a lump in my throat when I think what might have been. Take this sawbuck, baby, and best of luck, always. Goodbye, Chris. Please split before I get weak and let you be my whore." I reached across her and opened the car door. My skull was hitting on all 175 cylinders. I was cinching her. I remembered her name, Christine, on all those Terre Haute money orders I'd been sending myself. She was the runt's ghost gadfly come to life. She pulled the door shut. She hurled herself against me. She held on to me and wailed like maybe I was her dead mama on the way back to the grave after a brief visit. She blubbered, "Blood, please don't cut me loose. I'm not a lazy bitch. Give me a chance. I want to amount to something. Please take me with you. I won't let you down. I can hold my own against any bitch." I pulled out. I was headed home. I was a fox with a rare, pretty hen in my jib. I knew the runt and Ophelia were in the street. In the trunk, I had 6 dresses I'd copped for Ophelia. I was sure they'd fit Chris. I said, "Bitch, I'm gonna gamble on you. I'm taking you to your new pad. You gotta understand one thing. You can't bring in scratch under a bill a night. You do, I may light my cigarettes with it or use it to wipe my ass. You're gonna meet and work in the street tonight with your sisters. I'm gonna give you a rundown. Flap your horns and remember it. It will bring you into the family with some stardust on your tail. Chris, you're lucky. A whore of mine croaked in Terre Haute just a week ago. Her heart stopped while she was turning a trick. She was a martyr. Her name was Christine. I went up there and blew a couple of $100,000 for her funeral. I guess I felt guilty about blowing all that scratch on the broad I had only for a couple of months or so. I didn't tell the stable about her death. Maybe I went all out on her funeral because she had your name. I just don't know. Anyway, the stable never met her. They sure have a lot of respect for that long scratch she sent me every week from the whorehouse. Chris, you're that great humping bitch reborn. A week before she croaked, she begged me to turn her loose here in the street. I turned her down because I knew she had a screwy ticker. So, Chris, I know you'll prove to the stable you are just as great in the streets as you were in the house in Terre Haute. I'm taking you home to get pretty for the trick people, baby bitch. Chapter 13. The Iceberg. When she saw the pad, she flipped. A pink silk dress from the trunk fitted her perfectly. After a bath and a shampoo, she was again the gorgeous Chris I'd met at the Haven. I gave her 2 gold pills and took her to the street for the cut-in to Phyllis and Ophelia. It was midnight when I curbed in the block where they were working. They were walking together across the street. They looked over at the LaSalle. I blinked my headlights. They crossed the street and came toward me. The runt stuck her head through the window on Chris's side. Ophelia was stooping down, pinning Chris. I said, "Both of you get in." They got into the back seat. In the rearview mirror, I saw them look at each other. Then, at the back of Chris's head, I said, "Phyllis, Ophelia, meet Christine. She's going to work the street with you. She's tired of giving up 50% of her scratch. She wants Daddy to have all she makes." I pulled her out of the whorehouse. What the hell? The whole family should be together anyway. Phyllis, I've told Christine 100 times how great you are in the street. She's hip, you know all the rollers and all the angles. I want you to take her under your wing out here for a week or so. I know there ain't a bitch out here that can pull her coat like you can. Now get out of the car and starve those other jokers' whores to death. I watched them walk away chattering and laughing. It was like they were real sisters. I looked at my diamond-studded Longines. It was 10 after 12. How about it? I was 20 years old. I was living in a 6-bill-a-month pad. I had 3 young, fine mud kickers. I was a pimp at last. I tilted down the rearview mirror. I powdered my face. I sat there gazing at myself. Finally, I pulled it off. I was going to Sweet's to report my progress. I didn't get much of a chance to rap to him. 2 rollers from Sweet's precinct were drinking and horsing around with 2 of Sweet's yellow whores. Sweet told them I was his son. It tickled them witless when Sweet told them what Satan and his demon had done to me. They told me not to worry. They would remember me and would wire the other precinct rollers not to roust me. The rollers finally got crocked. The whores took them around the Chinese screen into bedrooms. Then I said, "Sweet, I copped a beautiful yellow bitch tonight. I got her humping on the track with my girls. Sweet, the bitch is crazy about me. I know I'll hold her for years." He said, "Slim, a pretty nigger bitch and a white whore are just alike. They both will get in a stable to wreck it. They'll leave the pimp on his ass with no whore. You gotta make 'em hump hard and fast. Stick 'em for long scratch quick. Slim, pimpin' ain't no game of love. Prat 'em and keep your swipe out of 'em.